IRS announced their tax brackets for 2023. What's staying the same? What's changing? I've got that and more coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. Every single year, the IRS updates about 60 different numbers for the upcoming tax year, just expanding and adjusting things to account for, inflation and other adjustments. So are tax rates changing? The actual tax brackets, are those expanding a little bit due to inflation? What they call, bracket creep. Are other updates, gift exclusions and estate tax exemption, are these expanding, and if so, by how much? And typically, these are done, if there's a big congressional legislation change, there's a tax overhaul, and those will be rolled out. But outside of that, these adjustments usually just are impacted from inflation. And normally when inflation's, 2% or so, it doesn't even register. Some of these numbers don't even change, and the numbers that do change, it's barely a change at all. Well, we know inflation is not normal right now. It's elevated. We're in hyperinflationary mode. And so these changes are actually a little more pronounced this year. What is changing? What's staying the same? Let's get into it. Okay, so tax rates are staying the same. Okay, tax rates are staying the same. The brackets are being expanded a little bit, which we're going to go through that right now, but the tax rates are staying the same. We are still, for income taxes, going from the 10% tax bracket to the 12% tax bracket, 22, 24, 32, 35, 37. That's staying the same. And once again, it's a progressive tax system. And so moving into the next tax bracket doesn't mean all your income is suddenly taxed at that higher tax bracket. The first X amount is going to be taxed at 10%. Then the next amount will be taxed at 12%, then 22, and so on, depending on how high your income goes. Done some videos about that, work with your CFP on that. But the rates are staying the same. The brackets are being expanded. Take a look at your 2023 tax brackets. Compare that to your 2022. Let's first start with married filing jointly. You've got all your income. You're going to add all that up. You're going to subtract out your deduction, subtract out standard deduction. Get to that in a second. And then what you're left with is your taxable income, the income that you're actually going to pay tax on. The first $22,000 will be taxed at 10% in 2023. Okay, the first $22,000 married filing jointly is taxed at 10%. Single filers, it'll be the first $11,000 will be taxed at 10%. So previously, back in 2022 tax brackets, that was just about 20 grand. Just about 20 grand would be taxed at the 10% tax bracket. Now it's 22 grand is going to be taxed at the 10% tax bracket. Moving up from there, from income of $22,000 up to almost $90,000 now is going to be taxed at the 12% tax bracket. I was saying I would typically, it's the first 20 grand's taxed at 10%, from 20 to 80 is at 12%. Now, guys, it's basically 22 to 90 is at the 12% tax bracket. So that feels like a meaningful, noticeable widening of these tax brackets that you might feel, you might see, you might experience. Again, married filing jointly, from basically 90 grand up to 190 grand. You're at the 22% tax bracket. Guys, previously that was 83 to 178. So this also, the 22% tax bracket, feels like it's expanded significantly, like a noticeable amount. That's fantastic. From 190 to 365, that previously was 178 to 340. Again, that's meaningful, noticeable expansion there, and so on. So, in this new scenario, it's not new scenario, in the new year, 2023, you've got to have income above $694,000 before you're into that highest tax bracket. That's an increase of almost 50 grand in order to get to that highest tax bracket. So I don't know, I'm a geek. You guys know that. That's meaningful expansion of these tax brackets. That's bracket creep is significant and meaningful this year. Hopefully you experience it. Now, note that these are the 2023 tax brackets for the tax return that you'll do in the spring of 2024. The tax return that you're about to prepare in the spring of 2023 is your 2022 tax return, and based on those previous tax brackets. These expanded tax brackets come into play starting in 2023. What about standard deduction? That deduction that we all get for being standard, for being basic. No, I'm just kidding. We all get it, okay? So standard deduction. You can itemize, you can add up certain expenses, certain deductions, and if that is higher, if you add these items up and it's higher than the standard deduction, then you get the itemized. But for about 92% of people, when you add that up, it doesn't exceed the standard deduction, so you're gonna get the standard deduction, okay? Previously, I mean, it would feel like a $400 increase, something like that. $900 increase per person right now. So if you're married, $1,800 increase in your standard deduction in 2023. Compare that to 2022, married filing jointly, $25,900 was your standard automatic deduction. So you add up all your income, subtract out 401k, IRA, HSA, those deductions, and then you subtract out your standard deduction, which was $25,900. Now, $27,700, almost a $2,000 increase in your just standard deduction. That feels great. That to me also feels like a noticeable expansion in that deduction. All right, and then the last notable updates. What about your estate exemptions and how much you can give each year to someone else without having to report it on your taxable income? Noticeable improvements there as well. For your estate, once again, this is prior to estate tax sort of reform. You can get, it's almost $13 million now, an increase of nearly $900,000 is the increase that you're going to see in the expansion of your estate tax deduction. So once again, this applies to just about no one, right? It's the very, very top of the 1% will actually be in a position where they're going to have to pay an estate tax. And for this new year, that estate tax exemption amount expanded nearly $900,000. That's not going to apply to most people, but just know that that's continuing to expand. What will apply to more people is how much you can give another person without needing to report it on your tax return. I'm still remembering 12,000, right? Do you remember? Are you that old and again, geeky to think, yeah, I can give anyone 12 grand a year and I don't need to report it? Well, the number actually has been going up to 15. Last year, for this year, it went up to 16. And for 2023 and beyond, it's $17,000 that you can give to another person and not have to report it as taxable income to them, not need to report that as a gift. If you take that money out of your IRA, then you're going to have to report that. But it's the gift that of up to $17,000 that you don't even need to report. You don't need to tell anyone. If you're married, then via gift splitting, you can each give $17,000, so $34,000 to that individual. If you're married and you're giving money to a married couple, you can multiply that by two as well, so $68,000. Up from, so that's increased. That's an increase of $4 grand for this year on top of an increase of $4 grand for the previous year. So it's a meaningful expansion in the annual gift exclusion. So meaningful changes due to inflation. I don't know. Does this impact your financial plan? It probably doesn't. But work with your certified financial planner, see if the expansion in these tax brackets, the increase in the amount that you can get as a standard deduction, the increase in the amount that you can give to another person, if that changes any of your financial plan or any of your tax planning strategies, work with your CFP on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with a K. WiseMoneyShow.com. You can find us there as well. Or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.